They called it the kiss of tradition, the gentle, reverent act of pilgrims bowing to kiss the Pope's slipper. For centuries, it symbolized ultimate humility and divine respect. But one morning, inside the solemn walls of the Apostolic Palace, Pope Clement XIV quietly removed his red velvet shoes and whispered to his aide, "No more." It wasn't a grand declaration. No trumpets. No public announcement. Just a simple sentence, spoken with weariness and love. That was the beginning of many changes that would come. Changes that shook centuries of ritual and revealed the human behind the haloed figure. This is the story of a pope, fictionalized, yet inspired by truth, who quietly let go of 10 powerful traditions not because he didn't honor them, but because he saw the faces of the people, and realized some traditions serve better as memories than burdens. No more kissing of the papal slippers. For years, Pope Clement watched the faithful fall to their knees, heads low, lips brushing his slipper. At first, he saw it as a gesture of reverence. But one day, in St. Peter's Square, a frail woman with a trembling hand reached for his foot, stumbled, and fell. He rushed to help her up, holding her close as she cried, not from the fall, but from the shame she felt for not being able to honor him properly. That moment haunted him. He realized that no respect should ever require pain or humiliation. That was the last day his slipper was kissed. No more papal throne carried by men. The sedia gestatoria, a grand throne carried on the shoulders of 12 men, once lifted popes high above the crowd. Clement had ridden it only once. The cheers felt distant, like echoes in a hollow room. From up there, he couldn't see the eyes of the people, just their raised arms and bowed heads. When he asked one of the throne bearers if the weight was difficult, the man smiled, saying, "Not heavier than the sins we all carry." Clement never rode it again. He chose instead to walk among the people, even if it meant being jostled, bumped, and touched. No more lavish papal coronation. The crown, called the tiara, was magnificent. Gold, encrusted with rubies and sapphires, it symbolized the Pope's authority over heaven, earth, and hell, but Clement saw no pride in wearing it. He saw poverty in South America, war in Syria, and desperation in refugee camps. How could he wear a crown while children slept on rubble? He replaced the coronation with a simple inauguration mass, his holy crown, a white sacchetto and a cross carved from olive wood. No more signing with a golden pen. Every important papal document had once been signed with an ornate golden pen, encrusted with a diamond at the nib. It was tradition, it was legacy. One afternoon, a boy from Ethiopia visited the Vatican, part of a peace delegation. He presented Clement with a pen made of recycled plastic. It writes truth, he said shyly, and not just gold. Clement smiled, signed the next encyclical with the boy's pen, and never picked up the golden one again. Pope Clement once ate alone in a candlelit chamber, waited on by 3 servers who barely spoke. Meals were perfect. Quiet. Cold. Then, during a surprise visit to a homeless shelter, a woman named Teresa offered him a seat beside a pot of beans and rice. They ate shoulder to shoulder, laughter bubbling around chipped bowls. He never returned to his private table. From that day, he dined with the staff, the cardinals, the janitors, the cooks, anyone who could share a moment of honest, human connection. No more papal apartments. The papal apartments were palatial, polished floors, ceiling frescoes, crystal chandeliers. But Clement saw them as too silent. Too far from life. He chose to live in a modest guest house. His room, 1 bed, 1 desk, a crucifix, and a window that looked out onto the street. He said it helped him pray with noise in the background. No more silencing dissenting voices. Once, critics of the church's actions were quietly ignored or worse, punished. But Clement remembered the words of Christ, "The truth will set you free." He opened dialogue with activists, feminists, LGBTQ advocates, and skeptics. Not to win arguments, but to listen, to understand. In one emotional meeting, a former priest who had been dismissed for his beliefs said, "I never stopped loving God, I just stopped being heard." Clement took his hand and said, "Then speak now." "I'm listening." No more blessings without touch. Traditionally, the Pope would bless with a gesture from a distance, majestic and untouchable. Clement broke that rule. He hugged the sick, held the disfigured, wept with grieving families. One child, burned in an accident, clung to him crying, "Am I still beautiful?" He whispered, "You're radiant." No more political silence. Popes had once avoided making direct political statements. Clement chose not to. When a nation used religion to justify genocide, he called it out by name. When world leaders ignored climate collapse, he wrote letters, speeches, encyclicals that shook parliaments. He said, "I cannot serve God if I do not protect His creation and His people." No more fear of change. This was the most personal of all. Clement had grown up in a church afraid of change. But through years of prayer, sorrow, and open arms, he realized that change isn't betrayal, it's growth. In one of his final homilies, he said, "Tradition is a lamp. It lights the path. But it must never become a chain. The Holy Spirit moves like wind, not like stone." The final benediction. Pope Clement passed away on a quiet spring morning, birds singing over Rome. They say his final words were, "Let them walk free, let love remain." At his funeral, people from every corner of the world gather, rich and poor, believers and doubters, gay and straight, powerful and forgotten. Not to kiss a slipper. Not to gaze upon a crown, but to remember a man who let go of rituals so he could hold on to people. In the end, that was his message, and perhaps the church's future. Some traditions are holy, others are heavy. Wisdom is knowing which is which.